medium solder?
I have some.
Yeah. You don't mind?
Jack,
Medium probably gets used the most. What's that?
We just add to
Wait till the end.
Okay.
But that's very sweet. Thank you. This one here, I've just got some little embellishments and a bezel that I'm going to go to a backplate. Pretty simple. I'm going to tweeze my solder to the inside.
did you flux the bottom?
Yeah, I've already fluxed the whole backplate. So I covered the whole backplate in flux. You'll be able to see that more once I start to heat it up.
Is that supposed to be a foot?
Yeah, it's a foot.
Ah. I like it. So how far does one of these little pieces of solder flow?
That's a
How
good
much does it
question. You know, there's a lot that goes into play when you want to know like how far your solder goes. The surface of your metal is gonna dictate how far it's gonna go. You know, if it's clean and smooth, it'll spread out a lot smoother. You know, oxidation can kind of hamper its movement a little bit. I'm gonna put a little piece of solder right where the back plate meets the toes. I'm not putting it underneath the embellishments because then the things wouldn't rest flush against the back plate, which is super important. But I guess to better answer your question, the best thing you can do is flux a piece of backplate, melt a piece of solder, and watch it spread out. Gives you an idea how big it gets. Now it acts in a capillary function, so it wants to find crevices and little grooves and travel along those crevices. So on a flat piece of metal, it might grow so big. But when it's where a bezel meets a backplate, it'll flow into that crevice where they meet and travel, right? So you get a lot of coverage. This is probably overkill as far as solder is concerned, but whatever. You know, feel free to take a peek, right? This will be uploaded on the YouTubes at some point this week as well. That Mighty King Bee channel. It's not very polished content, but it's just watching me go, you know. I put it around the inside of the bezel and around the outside of the kinda, yeah, you won't. And I'll show you, well, we're gonna do two. I'm gonna do that one and I'm gonna do more traditional with more embellishments around it like I taught you guys. I'm gonna switch to a size 1 torch tip. I could probably get by with a 0, but 1 will make it go a little faster. I wanna make sure that that piece is set in the middle of that annealing tray so that when I spin it around, it's always staying the exact same distance away from where I'm gonna hold my torch, right? Always in one spot, dead center, okay? Again, there's a million ways to do this. This is how I do it. And I think this is helpful for a beginner because you can take that torch and move it around the piece to evenly heat it, but there's a directional aspect to that torch, right? So if I'm just doing this around the piece, at this point, because of the directional nature of the torch, I'm heating the whole piece. If I'm over here, I'm not really heating anything at all, right? So the back piece never gets heated up evenly. In order to move it around, you gotta really twist and turn. Sometimes that can be a lot when you're so hyper-focused on the piece because you're afraid you're gonna melt it. But if I put it in the middle of that annealing tray, I can just hold that torch in one spot. And I know that by spinning, I'm heating the whole thing even. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm not just gonna come here on the top because that heat's coming down from one direction. I've got a few elements at play here. I've got my little thin bezel that travels around that stone, right? Very small mass of metal. I've got all those little chunks of silver for the toes, as it were. They're gonna be a little bit more dense, right? Larger masses than that bezel. And then I got that giant backplate that has the most mass. All three of these things have to reach the same flow temperature at kind of the same time. If I just come in from the top, the first thing that flame hits is that bezel. That bezel's gonna heat up, it's gonna reach that flow temperature for that solder, and it's gonna drink up all that solder. That solder's not gonna lay down, it's not gonna attach the backplate to the bezel, right? It just flows up. So I gotta hit everything kind of at the same time. How do I do that? I put that flame out here on the outside. Bounce it off that solder board, and I let that heat sort of cruise across the entirety of the piece, right? You can see the little orange flames kind of just licking the outside. You see that flux start to change colors and cook away. If you heat it up slow enough, it won't bubble up too hard and knock all your solders out of the way. And I just keep turning. Now that backplate got a little hot fast, so I'm gonna move around. There you see those solders start to go. What am I doing? Turning. Looking for that clear silver line all the way around the base of that bezel. That's how I know everything is flowing. I can stay in there longer than normal because I'm turning, and that allows none of that piece to heat up too much. Once I see the solder flowing in all the places where I want it, may not have gotten that tiny toe. We'll find out later. Turn your torch off. If it's stuck to the plate, you get a little water and give it just a little juice. If it's still stuck, give it some more juice. Don't be afraid to get in there and test it. Better it falls off now than later on. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Don't be afraid to look at it from all the angles, fidget with it. This is the chance. There's no fixing it once it's all attached, right? Now for this particular piece, I have 2 layers of embellishment. This is very unwise of me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of solder on the inside. I'm going to put a bunch of solder on the outside. And I'm going to pray that it all crawls underneath and grabs that little bead wire in the middle. I'm going to be honest with you, it works about 3 out of 5 times. But,
60%
yeah, 60% of the time it works every time. The reason I don't do it differently is because I am lazy.
Where you don't like set it.
At least you're honest.
The right thing to do, right, would be to plot out where that piece sits, pre-melt a bunch of solder to the base plate underneath. Melt it flat, 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 right?
Not really lazy.
Then it's already there. Then put my pieces on top of that melted solder. I'm sorry. Melt it flat, flat, flat. Flux it again. Then put the pieces on top of that melted solder, heat it all up and reflow it, and it'll reach up and grab, right? But I'm lazy. And honestly, when it doesn't work and that little middle piece just falls out, it kind of looks cool because now you've got this perfectly spaced, like negative space in between your outer border and your stone. It always looks good. So you can choose to go back in and fix it, or you can just go, oh, I'm too lazy to fix this and it looks cool as it is, and get on with your day. Some jewelers will say, oh, you make a mistake, you just pretend that it did it that way on purpose, and I'll never ever tell you that. I'll always say, no, go back and do it right. But if nobody's looking and you don't want to tell me about it, I'll never know the difference. Probably too much solder, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. Get that thing centered right there in the middle, in the middle, in the middle, in the middle. It's pretty good. If you didn't get a good look last time, throw some elbows. Tell you what, you stare so intently at that center while you spin, 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 and then as soon as you stop spinning it, it's like a magic eye thing, and the rocks still keep moving. It's a very cheap and ineffective high. Looks like all my solder's kind of walked away, so I'm just going to take a second to push them all in closely. This is something you have to kind of go fast so you don't keep that torch in one place too long, or else you'll start to cook it, spinning, spinning, spinning. They're about to go. They're about to go. Little swizzle in the middle, that's got her started. Boom, 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 boom. Keep turning, 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 turning. Watching. Making sure that that solder flows all around the entirety of that circumference. If it doesn't, it's a nightmare to fix later. I feel like that middle section grabbed. We'll find out. Yes! It's in there. It came from underneath the bezel and grabbed it. So if it didn't grab it, I fixed it, or like it only grabbed in one or two spots. I could probably take a little piece of like half a piece of solder and kind of wedge it down in there and reflow it if I really wanted to. Chuck that in the pickle. The next step is to go and saw that piece out. Questions?